Welcome to Moon Shadow. Let's listen to some of the amazing stories I found on Reddit. I don't take credit for any of these. These stories does not belong to me, and is only used for entertainment purposes. I have no knowledge of its authenticity. So let's sit back and enjoy. This story is fiction. Out of the dark. My first experience with the supernatural was one of the most terrible life experiences I can remember. It happened when I was young and dumb, and wanted to go out into the world and explore. While I was out of my home country of Canada, I witnessed a horror I soon hoped to forget. I had gone on a trip with some of my friends, to Montana, just below my home province of Alberta. We were originally going to stay in Yellowstone National Park, but decided to head to Glacier National Park first, before camping out at Yellowstone for a few days. We finally reached Glacier Park after a 6-hour drive, and had just enough time to do a little hiking before going to our hotel in the nearby town to rest and move on towards Yellowstone. We had gotten to the park around 4:30 p.m., and decided it was a great idea to hike after dark, so we hiked up the trail looking at the glorious views of rivers and waterfalls of the Avalanche Creek Trail. The light began to fade rather quickly, while we were about 2/3 of the way up, and we had hiked into the trail about 10 kilometers, so it would take us about 2 hours to walk back down from that point. This is when shit goes downhill. Me and my friends were all outdoors and loved to go hiking and travel around the Rocky Mountains, but we were still inexperienced when it came to night hiking. Since the path we were on wasn't used as much at this part of the hike, the trail was hard to follow in the dark. Although every now and then we would see a sign that notified us that we were going in the right direction. At some point, maybe a third of the way down the mountain, we ended up going off the trail, following a little rabbit-like trail, thinking we were still on the correct path. We began to figure out that we were definitely not going the right way, as my friend checked his compass showing we were heading deeper into the Rocky Mountains, miles and miles of forest. Then the mass panic begins. My friends and I immediately turned around and began walking the path we came down, but the trail we were following didn't look the same as it had before, leading us to being even more lost than before. That's when we collectively noticed how quiet it had gotten. No insects, no birds, nothing. It was dead silence. I knew this was a bad sign, as I'm a hunter, and when it gets quiet like this, it means that there is a large predator around and that it's hunting. We had literally become prey to some unknown beast in the woods. We all began getting a sudden spike of anxiety when I let everyone know what was up. That's when we hear it, a noise that brought terror, a guttural howl from up the mountain. It was then followed by many more. My heart went into my throat. The terror, most of my friends felt the same. All but two, the others had already dipped and had began running in the direction opposite the howls. We all then followed. Soon after running ourselves shitless, we looked behind and saw glowing eyes in the dark, of something that was much larger than we had anticipated. The eyes were at least 6 feet off the ground, and moving towards us fast. That's when we split up, running in random directions, hoping to lose these beasts. It was never going to happen. I could hear the breath of one of these things about 20 feet behind me. All of a sudden, my friend appeared from the trees to my right, and we end up running together, until I cut off from her hoping to escape. I know I left her to die that night, but it was a last-ditch effort that worked out to my advantage. I heard her screams from my left and ran as fast as I could, away from them, with tears rolling down my face. As I hear her screams for help, and her shrieking in pain, then nothing. As if she never existed, I continue running down the mountain until I see a familiar sight ahead of me. It was one of the trail signs showing how far you were on the trail. I stopped, checked where I was, and started running again, hoping to get away from the creatures on the mountain. Another kilometer down the trail, I began hearing howls getting closer and closer, at the moment causing me to run even faster. Looking ahead, I see the sign saying, "Parking lot," then ran past it in my panic looking for the keys in my pocket, and scrambling towards the only vehicle still left in the parking lot, which was my own. I used my fob to unlock my car from a distance and run as fast as I can towards it, slamming into the side of my door and opening it, jumped in and starting the car. I looked out of my window towards the trail entrance and see two pairs of eyes staring at me out of the range, then disappear back into the bush as I drive away, never looking back. I arrived at the ranger station by the park entrance, and ran inside looking unhinged and terrified. I began telling the ranger at the desk what just happened. He then looked at me with a sad face as if he knew something like this would happen, then called up the search and rescue team to come in the morning to look for them. They were never found. Thank you for listening to Moonshadow. If you liked it, please like and subscribe. Next story coming soon. Bye.